Hey, it's Mr. Wakeman. I'm going to talk to you guys today about dividing with decimals in the dividend. So when we say in the dividend, right now we're talking about decimals that are just inside the box in a division problem. So we'll worry later about decimals in the divisor and the dividend. Right now we're only focusing on decimals in the dividend. So the first rule we want to talk about on this problem, it's 4 60/100ths divided by 2. First rule of dividing a decimal is you just simply bring the decimal straight up. So before I do any division, I go ahead and put my decimal point there, just so I don't forget at the end. So then I just divide like normal. So I always remember divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. How many times does 2 go into 4? It goes in 2 times. Now multiply 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract 4 minus 4 is 0, and now I bring down my 6. Okay, I've taught my kids to use the brackets there. So now we're looking at the 6. How many times does 2 go into 6? It goes in 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Now I subtract. 6 minus 6 is 0. And again, I have to bring down. So even though this is a 0, I'm still bringing it down. Every digit in the dividend should have a digit above it in the quotient. So I bring down this 0. How many times does 2 go into 0? It goes in 0 times. 0 times 2. 0 minus 0 is 0. Okay? So I can always check that by multiplying. 2 times 2 30/100ths should give me 4 60/100ths. Okay, so let's talk about the next problem here. We're working toward not having a remainder in our quotient at this point. By not having a remainder, our quotient gets more accurate. So what we're going to look at is, it's right on there. I don't think so. Thank you, Ms. LaGrange, for taping. So what we're looking at now is, how do we keep from getting a remainder? One thing you need to know is that you can always add a 0 to a digit after the decimal point. And you would always add that 0 to the far right. So if I have a number like 460, if I just add a 0 to that, it changes the value. It makes it 4,600. If I put a decimal and add a 0 to that, it doesn't change the value at all. It's still 460. I've just added a digit there. So one of the rules that you need to remember when trying to get rid of your remainder is you can add as many zeros as you want. After the decimal point, at the end of the number, after the decimal point, you can add as many zeros as you want, and it won't change the value. Okay, so let's solve this and see why we would need to add a 0 to begin with. Alright, so the first thing I need to ask is, and at this point I don't have a decimal point, I'm not worried about it. So the first thing I need to ask is, does 25 go into 4? It doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to put a 0 there. Now I'm going to see if 25 goes into 46. I know that it does. I know it can't go in twice, because that'd be 50, so it'll go in one time. 1 times 25 is 25. Now subtract. Again, it's my divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. 46 minus 25. 6 minus 5 is 1. 4 minus 2 is 2. And now I bring down my 0. So how many times does 25 go into 210? Okay, well I know 4 times 25 is 100. So 8 times 25 must be 200. 9 would be too much. So 8 times. 8 times 25 is 200. Now I subtract. 210 minus 200 gives me 10. Here's where I would have a remainder in a standard division problem. Since we're going for more accuracy, now I'm going to add my decimal.
This is Karen Hauber. You have a phone call. Would you please let me know when I may transfer?
Okay, so by adding a decimal and adding a 0, I haven't changed the value at all of this number. But I've allowed myself now to have another digit to bring down. So by adding that 0, I can bring that 0 down, put the 0 there, and now I can say, how many times does 25 go into 100? Here's the thing you need to remember. When you've added that decimal, you need to make sure you put the decimal up in your quotient. Okay? So now, 25, how many times does 25 go into 100? Well, I know 25 goes in 4 times. 4 quarters makes $1. So, 4 times 25 gives me 100. 100 minus 100 is 0. So, my answer now is 18 4/10. I should be able to multiply 18 4/10 by 25 and get 460.0. Okay? All right, now for the last one. What happens if we've already got, so the one we just did was if you didn't have a decimal there, you can always add a decimal point and then add zeros after it. If you've got a decimal point in your dividend, well, that's okay. I can still add zeros afterward, as many as I need. It still doesn't change the value. It changes the digit, but it doesn't actually change the value. And we're only going to use what we need, though. All right, so the first question I have to ask is, how many times does 24 go into 4? It doesn't. Actually, first thing I should do is go ahead and bring up my decimal point.
Kinsey Tingle, please let me know where your whereabouts are. Kinsey Tingle.
How many times does 24 go into 4? It doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to look at 46 now. How many times does 24 go into 46? Well, 2 times 25 is 50, so I'm thinking that 2 times 24 is not going to make it. So 1 times 24, so again, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Here's my subtraction. 6 minus 4 is 2, 4 minus 2 is 2, and now I bring down my 8, so 228. This Lagrange, how many times? I have to do a little math. I think 9. 24 times 9. So we like seeing your math on the side. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 2 is 18, 19, 20, 21. 216. I can't get any closer because 10 times 24 would be 240. So I know 9. That's okay. So I know 9 times 24 is 216. Subtract. 8 minus 6 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. Now, what do I do? Well, I'm going to add that 0 there. It's not changing the value. And bring that 0 down. So now 120. I think 524. How many times does 24 go into 120? I think 5 times. I'm going to check it over here. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 2 is 10. Plus 2 more gives me 120. Alright, so 5 times 24 is 120. I'm left with a 0. I'm left with no remainder. I've got a more accurate answer, and I didn't change the value of the digits. Again, to check this, I could multiply 24 times 1 and 95 hundredths. I should end up with 46 and 80 hundredths. That's it.